Well, hello. This is a bit out of the normal. This is the first special I have done in the 2 years of podcasting. I've never done a show special, but this one's going to be all about the Microsoft Business Application Summit, which is going live in 3 days. So very exciting. It's going to be in Atlanta, of course. Last year was the inaugural event, which I attended, and it was amazing. Right now, I'm going to have a conversation with Steve Mordue. Him and myself have just had a two-way conversation, once again, a bit different than my normal format, of around what we see as the things to go and see, depending, of course, what area you specialize in. I've kind of given my list of favorites. I've also called out a few surprises of people that I thought would be speaking and not speaking, from the Microsoft product team. But there's some exciting things to look forward to. I also call out Hack for Good. And if you get an opportunity, go check out the Eventbrite webpage right now and search for Hack for Good. And you will find this amazing hackathon, hacking for charity if you like, using the Microsoft tool sets. There's still time, 3 days out, there's still time to register. If you can get to Atlanta, we'd love to have you in a team and go for it. Sunday the 9th is when that Hack for Good event goes down. But anyhow, let's get on with the show, so to speak, and listen to us two old guys have a chat about the Microsoft Business Application Summit 2019 in Atlanta. As always, anything we discover or cover that requires a link, they'll be in the show notes, so check out the show notes at nz365guy.com. Well, today we're in for a bit of a surprise, a bit of a show special, so to speak, for the Microsoft Business Application Summit. I'm joined with Steve Mordue. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mark.
Well, this is not really me interviewing you or you interviewing me. This is just two old guys going to have a chat about this upcoming event.
I am very excited about BizApp Summit this year. I think that last year, the inaugural event, that they had a very short amount of time to put together. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed that event.
It was a great event.
And Alissa Taylor has said that they've had a whole year now to really dial this thing in, expecting twice as many people, maybe as many as 12,000 people.
Wow.
I think it's just going to be a tremendous event. I cannot wait to get there.
Yeah, totally. I thoroughly enjoyed last year, At the end of the day, I go to events really for two reasons. One is the networking, and the second one is for the experience, right? I don't want to just go to learn as such, because I tend to learn in other avenues, but really the experience of these type of events, the experience and the enthusiasm of the product team, you don't get it anywhere else.
No, and especially this one, this is focused on the space that you and I are in, the business applications, unlike Inspire, where there's a lot of energy and stuff at Inspire, but there's 25,000 people out there for every Microsoft product there is, a lot of which I don't care about. So to be able to get into an event that's so focused, on what you're doing and learning so much from folks and not just MVPs, but all the other folks that come to these events, that I thought it was phenomenal last year. Certainly didn't feel like something that was thrown together quickly. So I'm going to be pretty excited to see what Alissa and company pull off for having a year to work on it.
Yeah, totally. The one thing I would say is I don't think it's long enough. For someone that's traveled often to Microsoft events from the other side of the world, or the bottom of the world, where New Zealand is that it takes around 2 days to fly to the US to get, to ultimately get to your hotel from departing. So that's 2 days, flights, transportation there, and then 2 days home. It's only a 2-day event, so you're traveling for 4 days to get 2 days. Now, that's an awesome event, but if we look at the number of sessions, 200 plus sessions, 300 plus experts are going to be in the room. Mainly of those are from the Microsoft product team. I just think that maybe a day or maybe 2 days, at least one more day, at least 3 days, maybe 4, I think, as well as, adding in a pre-day, I think there's room for a little bit more love for the event, I think, from Microsoft and the number of sessions they're running.
Yeah, it's funny. Before I go to these events and I see that it's only a 2-day event, I'm always like, I wish it was longer. But normally by the end of it, I'm like ready to get out. So I think that's kind of a mixed bag. But then again, I don't have the travel of a lot of the international folks do, where they've made such an investment of time and money to get here. I can definitely see that being a challenge. But yeah, we got I mean, the categories this year of products, there's just a lot. And interesting, this year between Microsoft and Flow,
Mm-hmm.
there's significantly more sessions than there are for Dynamics 365,
Yeah.
which is a big turnabout. And if you look at the whole Power Platform of Flow, Power Apps, and Power BI,
Mm-hmm.
there's more than twice as many sessions as there are
Yeah.
on Dynamics 365, which is a complete shift.
Yeah, yeah, and it is. It's a shift that we're saying. I talked about Dynamics 365 being dead, and we've been on podcasts together where we've talked about really the rise of the platform. That is the Power Platform, and Power Apps, Flow, Power BI. And we're really seeing that, the first party apps like Dynamics, of course, they're not dead, they're not going away, but they're not, if you like, the prime focus anymore. They're great proof of concepts of what can be built on the Power Platform, but I think that we're going to see more innovation at the platform layer that are going to enable and light up a lot of use cases going forward.
So it was interesting. I did a podcast with Hayden Stafford, who runs sales, enterprise sales, which will be out here shortly. And I talked to him about the internal competition between releasing a platform versus the first party apps. And he kind of got into some of the angst they had around making that decision.
Yeah.
And how the jury's kind of still out. I mean, there hasn't been anybody yet who has on the Power Platform built a head-to-head competitor with, say, the enterprise sales app. There's been lots of applications. We've built some, other partners have built some, but nobody really has stepped back and said, you know what, I think I can build a better enterprise sales application than Microsoft's, and taken a stab at that. And he expects that'll happen this year, that someone's going to try that.
PCF has to be mainstreamed for that scenario to happen. Right? Because with PCF, we can do away with the view that you get out of the box, and you can create your own views. You've got full dedicated control of the entire, if you like, work surface from a form area. And then ultimately, I think, there's bound to be more flexibility even over in the navigation experiences. And that really means that you could build any type of user experience that you wanted, in that form factor.
I think it's going to change everything. I think that, it's interesting. You and I as MVPs and the other MVPs, we get really early looks at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you see some things, you say, yeah, that's perfectly fine. That'll do something. And then you see other things, you think, man, once this thing hits, once this thing is public and it's out there, this thing's going to blow up. And I know you and I have both talked about that Power Component Framework as being one of those things. And now we're seeing that thing has recently launched into the public hands just within the last, month. And already we're seeing YouTubes and
cool things, right?
And all sorts of cool stuff. And they're really just the tip of the iceberg. This is just our developer community that's getting their hands on some new technology for the first time, and creating some little widgets as test cases. But that once they get past that we're going to see some amazing stuff from that technology.
Yeah, so true, so true. So jumping into the event, we see that the guest speaker is Alissa Ohanian, which is, co-founder of Reddit, which is, extremely popular platform. He's also an author. Have you ever heard of the guy or come across him?
I have not. And, it's interesting at events like this, when they pick these keynotes, it's kind of a staple. If it's not like one of the Microsoft people doing a keynote, they go out and get some inspirational speaker.
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell last year, right?
Yep, Malcolm Gladwell last year. There was one, I can't remember which one, where they had some Army general, some female Army general or something. Remember her?
That was back in Convergence days at Powell, what was it? Colin Powell, was it?
Well, there was one here even more recently. It's a female.
Okay.
Yeah, female general. I don't remember which one that was. But usually, I go to those because I'm already there, and they make sure there's nothing else to do, but I don't have high expectations when I go to those. And sometimes I walk out thinking, why'd they pick that person? But every now and then you walk out and you say, man, that was really pretty awesome.
That was sensational. Yeah.
And so you don't know. I don't know the guy. I've not heard him speak before, but we'll be there. You and I'll be there in the front row, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as in two rock stars, James Phillips and Alissa Taylor, of course, going to be in that opening keynote as well. I did note that Alissa is in the closing lock note or the closing keynote, but James is not listed to speak in that, interestingly.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked about James he's an incredibly intelligent guy, a brilliant strategist.
Mm-hmm.
He's really taken a pile of crap when he came in here, in my opinion, and turned it into just a world-beating platform. But he's not a guy who likes to get out there in front of the microphone much.
Yeah.
He's not a big fan he does a good job of it. He's a great salesman when he gets up on stage, but not his favorite thing to do.
No, 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 no. But looking forward to seeing them again. It's good to see that there's a bit of consistency, I feel, between the two of them across events now for 2 years on the trot. I just hope that, the longer that stays together, the better, I think.
So clearly the two of them are in lockstep. James and Alissa, are absolutely synchronized on their thinking and on everything, as is Hayden. He's part of that group, as is Jeff York, who I did a podcast with him recently, and he's the CFO. And really, it's the four of them and you don't see Jeff very much either. He's not normally put out front as the numbers guy, but very critical to what's going on there. But the four of them are really in lockstep. And I don't remember if it was Hayden or Jeff who had said, looking across all the other teams like that within Microsoft for different product groups and stuff, they really feel like they've got the best chemistry and the best productivity of any of the other product groups out there. And I think we're seeing that in the products that are coming out of them.
Yeah, so true, so true. Listen, you and I have been having a little chin wag about doing something a bit different at this event. We like to, if you like, bring the action and change things up a bit. And we're going to live stream at this event, all going to plan, and it's going to be a video live stream to YouTube.
That's either going to be amazing or horrible.
Yeah.
We'll figure out after it's done, I guess. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it will be. Very often you and I have gotten involved with podcasts, yours or Gus's or somebody from events, kind of like, go grab a room and go chat for a bit. But to actually do it live and live stream it, there's no editing there, right?
Nope.
There's no cleaning up. There's no taking it back when it's live.
Exactly.
And I know we've talked about doing it. We're not going to be continuously broadcasting live through the whole event.
No.
We're going to be taking certain points during the day and see if we can put together some kind of a schedule where people can that aren't at the event can go tune in and kind of hear the latest. And we're hoping to get some of the Microsoft folks to come sit with us. And we'll get the bravest ones because, again, it's going out live. So,
so for those of you that want to check this out while the event's on, perhaps you haven't been able to attend the event, but you want to kind of get a bit of a feel of the experience, the buzz, that type of thing. If you go to nz365guy.com/live, and I'll put that in the show notes. Whenever we update the stream, we'll make sure that link always points there. Now, key things to note, as in if you go to that link right now and you subscribe and hit the bell, you'll get notified 1 hour before we go live each time. So Google or YouTube will notify you 1 hour before we go live. And so you can keep in lockstep with us and what we're doing there at the event. But as I say, it's going to be new. I've set up some cameras, got my audio all checked out, got the mic sussed. I'm having more equipment delivered to Steve's house, ready for him to bring to the event. And yeah, we're really hoping it's going to look quite good.
We've got multiple points of failure.
Yeah. I think it'll go well. I think it'll go well. It'll be exciting.
Well, and I think our goal with this live podcast is, normally a podcast we get on a topic and kind of drill it to death, but here we're really wanting to try and bring some of this experience, which you and I are both anticipating is going to be, electric out there.
Yeah.
And try and see if we can get some folks to get the feel for that weren't able to attend, and definitely grab some of the product folks to come sit down with us every now and then and talk about, because this is the event also where they announce a lot of things.
Exactly.
And so it'll be a good opportunity to kind of shine some spotlights on some of those.
Yeah, totally agree. So, we're going to try and get as many guests, from the product team, even attendees, things like that, on air. Live, we'll do a bit of an interview style. We both won't be on the camera at the same time. It'll alternate between us. But we hope to, put a decent stream out there to you. And hopefully you'll get some value out of it. One thing also to note, if you go up to that stream there, it shows the exact date of our first go live. So it'll automatically change it to your time zone. You don't have to do the conversion. YouTube does that for you. Moving on, though, just thinking about the agenda and speakers, and I just made a few notes around the speakers. Specifically, I'm looking forward to Steve Guggenheimer. We've done a lot of chats about ISV, and I see he's doing 2 sessions, one on industry accelerators and then the common data model for industry. So it looks like, it's pretty much going to be focused really just on the accelerator side of his ISV remit. Nothing too much, obviously, going on here about the ISV program. I assume that's been held off for Inspire, I take it.
Yeah, I think it is. I think a lot of, and also, one last point on that last thing, this live stream that we're doing, it's not just you and I going out there, haggling around trying to figure something out. This is something we're working with Microsoft on. So they're supporting, and they're going to be, helping us, get the right spot and make sure everything is going smooth. So this isn't just a couple of cowboys running around. I think we told them if they don't help us, it will be just a couple of cowboys running around. Yeah. So they decided better to control us. But yeah, it is interesting that Googs is, I don't see any ISV specific conversation coming out of him in those events. I think that, they recently dropped quite a bit of new information on ISVs around the revenue share model. I think that's still churning its way through everybody's consciousness, and they're digesting and they're collecting lots of feedback right now from different partners about, pros, cons, stuff like that. So I don't think that it's fully baked yet to its final form. It's still being mixed in the bowl. And so it doesn't sound like they're going to be quite ready to talk about that in June, but definitely I know they plan to try and have it nailed down by July. Yeah,
so I just had a chat with him yesterday, and interesting discussion. There's over 26 odd questions that I've got, to put to him that I've collected from various ISVs around the globe. And he's very keen to answer those the best he can. And I'm actually doing the recording with him. By the time this podcast goes live, I would have recorded with him. So I record with him next week, but it won't be published till around July timeframe. So I'm expecting him to give me a bit of the juice, or, especially if I hold off to his announcement, at the event, that there's going to be some good stuff in there.
Yes, I think so. That, you and I have talked about this ISV motion many times, and frankly, a lot of our conversations in the past has been about how kind of poor it is and how ISVs are kind of left to their own devices. The ISV motion at Microsoft historically has been, 20 different people that had a little piece of responsibility, none of them coordinated. And, this is a big change for Microsoft. I think it's a big signal, to everyone out there of where ISVs fit, where I think prior to that, we got a lot of lip service about how important they were, but not a lot of action. And this is significant and sincere action on their part for really wanting to embrace ISVs and give them a path. I think moving to a revenue share model, which frankly, everyone else has got a revenue share model. It's not anything new, but Microsoft moving to that too is a commitment. It creates a commitment both ways, which it hasn't been up to now. And I think it's going to be, as an ISV, I'm very excited about it, very bullish on it. So I know some other ISVs are not so crazy about it, but I think that time will tell.
Exactly.
But it definitely is a signal to me about seriousness that they're taking with ISVs.
Yeah, and I think it is going to be a very positive. I think the order that they land the various, if you like, steps or procedures in are going to be important, I think, for adoption. But, what I like is that in this new modern world of Microsoft, the last 5 years, they're very much, customer focused and engaged. In this case, the partners are their customers. So, I'm expecting some, rock solid working out of the system and it being a massive win-win for everybody.
It's an interesting shift for them because up until now, what they've offered for ISVs has been around technical things, right? App source and some technical things to build your solutions. But now they're actually moving over into giving ISVs a business model and business motions, completely independent of whatever your thing is. With the coming commerce engine and coming licensing constructs and some of the other things they're putting in place, they're really fleshing out the story for those ISVs across the board. I know you and myself and a couple of other MVPs have our little group Power ISV where we're consulting with those aspiring ISVs and we're working every day with Salesforce ISVs wanting to make the move, legacy ISVs wanting to get up to speed with all the new programs and technology, as well as aspiring ISVs. I know Microsoft is also working to help those folks. So there's a lot of hands going out to ISVs right now, to help them get on board.
Yeah. Listen, this one other thing I just wanted to bring up around the event, just pivoting here, is that there doesn't seem to be an expo floor. There seems to be a few sponsors, but back in the days of Convergence, the expo floor was gigantic. It was a big deal, and I would use it to educate myself on the ISV solutions I'd take back to New Zealand or Australia, when I was living down in those parts. So I'm surprised that's another kind of area that Microsoft haven't jumped in for this event just yet.
I think that having only done the one event that was quickly put together, I don't know because I'm not an exhibitor, but they did have an exhibit hall in Seattle when they did it last time, and there were a few exhibitors
just the sponsors,
there.
Right? It was just the sponsors.
Yeah, just the sponsors that were exhibiting, and I think just to kind of test the water of what kind of an event that is, and it may be that it'll be similar this year, that'll be kind of light on exhibits as people are kind of gauging, but this will be the real test. I mean, they've had a year to plan it. If they got 12,000 people coming here, absolutely, there may be I think there could be a lot of potential exhibitors at the event saying, damn, we should have exhibited here.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I know there's ISVs out there, I've been working with a company out of WA, Maptasker, for a while now, and, they're an ISV that are just doing amazing things in this geospatial area, and they want to do an exhibit. And, I reached out to multiple Microsoft people, and it just, nobody seemed to have an idea or a solution or, either a yay or a nay, either way, in getting there. So, interesting.
Yeah, and I think that there definitely is a difference between a sponsorship and an exhibitor, right?
Yeah. Massively different, yeah.
Yeah, they're accepting sponsorships, and I would assume sponsors will get some sort of a table or spot to stand. But yeah, it definitely isn't like your typical event. And, I enjoy exhibit halls to walk through and see some sort of stuff, but it's not really why I go to these events. Maybe they're trying to keep the focus on, they've got so much for people to learn. It's for so many years. I mean, back in the Convergence days, you would go, from one year to the next, you saw some incremental change to the products, and it was mostly, go have a good time with your friends and get a deep dive on something you already knew. But now, I mean, there's so much new stuff, and the channel, the broad channel, is just so far behind on their knowledge because there's so much new stuff. It really seems like the focus is on, let's get you guys up to a level set on where we're at now, and that's a big hill.
Yeah. So, I was going through Schedule Builder and building out, what I'll attend and whatnot, and I created a bit of an MIA list, missing in action list, and there are a couple of big names that I thought would be, here from the product team that are not attending according to if the schedule's up to date, which, there's a lot of product team people that are attending. But for example, Mohammed, who looks after F&O, not attending. Yeah, which surprised me. Martin Costel, head of marketing, Dynamics 365 marketing, not attending, no show at all. Lorraine, looks after mixed reality side of things. I really thought there would be more presence from that side because it's a growth area.
Are you thinking about, you're not seeing sessions by these people?
I know I'm not even seeing them in the list. Like there's a community section, and the community section has the speakers, and they're designated as Microsoft speakers. So all the Microsoft speakers, and they're attached to all the sessions.
Gotcha.
So all the sessions then have, these people attached. And yeah, a couple of others on my list. Walter's son, market intelligence, another big product that's growing. I would have thought that he would have been there. VJ Rajanan, I think his last name is, his Customer 360 Insights, which I would have thought, hey, that would be a real big area to show off. Arid Katz, who's the head of sales, Dynamics 365 sales, no show, not there. Matthew Barber, he's normally at these events and bringing the wisdom, nothing. Now, this is where I feel the system might be slightly faulty, or perhaps it hasn't got anyone. Shan MacArthur, He's not listed as being there, but then Julie Strauss specifically is not on the list at all.
Well,
But I'm pretty
I know
sure
Julie
she is
is there.
speaking, right?
Yeah, she definitely has she has one session, she told me. So I know she's there. So yeah, maybe there's something about the system because I can't imagine most of those people you mentioned not being there.
You'd think, right? I mean, these are all, senior people, most of them reporting in directly to James Phillips, and I really thought they would be at the event and have speaking slots. And being that most of the speaking slots look like they're locked and loaded, unless they're jumping on somebody else's session and not, being listed, maybe that's the case.
You and I have both been at these events before where they've got these, these Microsoft conference room areas where you make appointments to meet folks.
Yeah, the side sessions.
And they say, I know that often you'll see people that'll come in specifically because they've got, multiple meetings with certain, strategic partners, and it's a good opportunity in one place to do it. And so I think some people have the job of, okay, you're going to stand up and talk about the new stuff, and your job is you're going to go work with some of these, strategic partners and help them, a little more hand holding. So I can't imagine those folks not being there, but that wouldn't surprise me if they're not all speaking.
Yeah. So then the rock stars, there's kind of like 4 major rock stars I always look for in the agenda at something like this. Of course, there's Charles Lamanna, who owns, the Power Platform, and then, Ryan Cunningham, Steven Siciliano, and Ryan Jones are kind of those big names that, I would want to be at those sessions. And so I see Charles and Ryan are doing a joint session called the Power Apps Vision and Roadmap session, which is obviously going to be a big one where they're going to be making a bunch of announcements. And then Steven Siciliano has a session called Flow Vision and Roadmap, which I would say would be another very interesting session on the flow side of things. And then Ryan Jones has a session called What's New in the Common Data Service for Apps. So once again, I expect those 4 sessions are going to be, highly attended and high-value sessions where they'll make a bunch of new announcements.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that the kids are coming. I tell you, these guys, it's been interesting to watch them as they have kind of popped up on the scene relatively recently.
Yeah.
And particularly in sessions where you've seen them in the early days, a little nervous, a little apprehensive, to now, they've gotten completely comfortable with the audience, with the product, and highly confident in the, in the goals and the mission. And it just comes off for these guys. They're fun to listen to, even if they're telling us something that we've already heard. They're still fun to listen to. They're clearly deeply excited about the product. I've been to sessions, as have you in the past, with product managers who just kind of get up and they're, yeah, well, we're doing this and we're doing that, and you almost don't even feel like the guy's heart's in it. But there's no question with these guys. I mean, these guys are passionate about where this stuff is going.
Yeah, and they're very candid, right? They tend to, really, if you like, not, put a whole bunch of marketing over the top of it. They just very frank, very down to earth, very kind of approachable. Ryan Cunningham, remember he was on main stage last year, and boy, did he come with some energy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
got the room sparked up, with, his excitement around the area. And of course, he's moved roles. He really owns pretty much everything around interface nowadays. Heads up all that team around that experience, and he's got a rock star team behind him.
I tell you, of the guys that you're talking about and across that group that I've seen speak, now for a couple of years, Ryan kind of went from an awkward presenter when he was first presenting to really crisp, really clean. I mean, he is. It's interesting that you watch the skill set, just in the ability to present and engage an audience. He's had a complete turnaround from when I first saw him speaking up there. It's just he's gotten very comfortable, very confident, and frankly, he's one of the better speakers now, and being able to get out a lot of content quickly in a way you could easily grasp it. He does great on those examples. Yeah, all of those guys are just
exactly
really, really fun. It's so different than these conferences in the past where we just had, like you said, choreographed, scripted presentations from people that were being very careful to stay within all sorts of different boundaries. And
exactly,
I think it's not just the guys, but it's also the company has kind of given a little more free rein. I mean, Ryan Jones will get up and say things that you could imagine someone else saying a couple of years ago and just getting pulled into the principal's office,
I love him, eh? He's great. So true. I see Stephen, he's not only got that Flow Vision and Roadmap session, he's also doing 2 other sessions. In fact, he's got to get the all-star for the most sessions of all these guys presented. He's doing one on Automate the Common Data Service and then Advanced Expressions for Flow. And naturally, there'll be a heap of other Flow sessions, but these are the kind of names that kind of stuck out in my mind. Interestingly enough, one of his team, John Levesque, I don't know if you've seen John, but I kind of first met John in Amsterdam, and yeah, that guy's a rock star. And he's doing, Flow real world stories, which is always great to see how other people are using the technology. And then using Flow for digital transformation for your business, which, once again, I think these are real practical uses of the application. And if no one's heard John before, make sure you go to his sessions because this guy's a legend.
You and I are both, CRM guys, right? From the CRM side of the house.
Back in the day, yeah.
Back in the day, and I was on a podcast with Mary Jo Foley a month or 2 ago, and about Power Platform, and she asked, for people that aren't familiar, what would you suggest that they start with? And my gut reaction was, oh, you start with CRM, but when you really look at what we have today, and I think you may agree, I think that for somebody who hasn't touched any of this stuff, the place to start is Flow. I mean, Flow
Absolutely.
is the thing where you can get, it's highly accessible. It can be very powerful, but it doesn't need to be. It can also be very, very simple, and people can get almost an instant return on effort from Flow. And I think that's the gateway drug to all the rest of this platform. And so anybody listening is still trying to figure out where they might want to find a grab handle. Yeah, I'd be jumping on Flow right away. Citizen developer level stuff all the way through pro dev. I mean, it's really got everything. And of the products that we've got, that one is probably the most immediately transformative.
Yeah. Totally agree. Now, I see out of Ryan Jones's team, he's sending also along Jim Daly and Brandon Simmons. So Jim Daly's doing a session on optimizing custom code and plugins in the Common Data Service, which, just shows there's stuff for devs, there as well. And then Brandon's doing monitoring and supporting Power Apps at scale. So from an enterprise perspective. And I know there's been a lot of questions around, how do you monitor and support where you're kind of giving everybody the ability to go and build apps. And, the concern of a lot of organizations is that, hang on a second, what about the security around that? What's going on? Can, people spin up instances? And I know there's been some interest around that recently. So it's good to see these kind of meaty sessions in the schedule as well.
It's a fine line between wanting to enable the next, 15 million developers as citizens and trying to enable that by giving citizens in an organization access to as much as possible so they can go and do something. But then the other side, you've got particularly enterprise organizations and mid-sized organizations, you've got an IT responsibility there and somebody who's responsible for governing and data and all that stuff. So Microsoft's kind of trying to walk that little tightrope because if they lean too far over, then IT is just going to shut it all down. And if they go too far the other way, then it'll stifle, the opportunity for citizens to actually go do things. So that's an interesting little tightrope walk for them.
Yeah. But I think the tools are coming, though, very clearly. There's a lady that I know she's going to be coming on the podcast. Actually, I'm talking to her tomorrow, Manuela, and amazing girl that works at Virgin Atlantic, where they've got a big Power Apps, program in place. And the governance model that she's enabled in that organization is just legendary. Like, they're not running any risk as in from people creating out of hand or out of standards, etc. They've got a really well-trained, if you like, how would you say, empowered, if you like, team that can go and build apps, but still, in a compliant way, if you like, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I think that, the first thought of a lot of IT or even, traditional developers, when they hear citizen developers, they think, oh my God, it's like the monkeys are being let loose out of the cage. And I think I'll be very interested to listen into that podcast with her. And I think a lot of the IT community will be curious. Is there a way to do this to get the benefit, yet still, do it in a safe, governant, compliant way. And there certainly is, and I'll be very eager to hear that podcast. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it's interesting because Microsoft was making a lot of noise around the citizen developer the past several months, and I think they got the sense that they might have actually over-indexed a little too much. And now we're hearing them circle back to the pro dev story, because the pro dev story was kind of getting lost in the citizen development story. And I mean, to stand back a month ago, you would have thought, well, citizens are going to be building everything, and that Power Component framework is probably a good example of a more of a pro dev tool. I mean, that's not going to be
Totally,
something citizens will
100%.
be doing, and
No, no.
and I think we're going to hear a lot of that at Summit, is more about that pro dev story, because they did kind of park that a little bit while they focused on that citizen developer message.
Yeah. So one of the other sessions I'm interested in attending is by Clay Wesner. Now he's in Ryan Cunningham's team, and he owns, the UI, what we get at the end of the day. And he's running a session called Run One UI, the future of Canvas, model driven, and the unified interface. So I think that's going to be very interesting, being that you and I have both heard him speak about the next, 5-year window. And I think might be some really exciting stuff being talked about here.
I think so. I mean, Clay's a great speaker too. I like Clay. He's got a great attitude. He clearly knows he has a mission of where to try and get this thing to. And as you say, you and I at MVP Summit, kind of saw probably similar to what he'll be showing a little more broadly this time. While we hadn't been able to talk about it, it's definitely been pretty exciting to see where that thing is heading, and might even fulfill one of my predictions on some prediction podcast I did a year ago, I think, with, I don't know, probably on Gus's podcast or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to his session as well. He's good at presenting. He's another one of these guys that just will take any question. These guys don't take anything personal, any question, any complaint, anything. They just react, and that's new for all of us.
Yeah, it's really good. I just interviewed him for a podcast about 2 weeks ago, which is going live after the event. And yeah, he's down to earth, frank, and really was able to talk a lot about, what's happening and what's coming, on the agreement that I didn't release it till after BizApp Summit. So I think, there's some good stuff. He's, as you say, he's a great guy, originally from Australia, but I don't hold that against him by any stretch. But yeah, rock solid. Do you know I was looking for Gutham to see if his name was in the set, in the lineup, and him, Jamil, I think it's Gafsari, he reports into him, and then there's a guy called Peter Bryan. Now, sorry, he doesn't report into him. He reports to James Lamana. These three guys are the gurus of everything artificial intelligence in the Power Platform. So Gutham's doing one on the vision and roadmap of how to leverage artificial intelligence in the Power Platform. And then Brian's session is hands-on with adding artificial intelligence easily with the Power Platform. Now, I think this is absolutely where the Power Platform is going, right? It's really going to enable organizations to light up artificial intelligence scenarios, and that really excites me.
I think it's pretty clear that you have planted a flag on AI. You are very excited about the potential of that. I think also, you're in a position right now where you're able to do a lot of thought leadership and talk about where things are going. There's lots of partners out there that are, just daily working with customer deployments, all day, every day working with customer deployments. And I think that reconciling those two views is a little bit of a challenge, particularly when we still got so many customers out there that are just using spreadsheets. I mean, they're not even on the most basic of a business application. So AI is still a little ways out there. But clearly Microsoft has to be a leader in that space. I'm going to be eager to see, because I think up until now, the AI has been one extreme or the other. So it's either been, here's a kit of parts that you can go build your own AI solution, which we don't have enough people that even know how to do yet. Or here's some prepackaged AI that'll show you some interesting things, but maybe not what you're looking for. And if they can bridge that here is, market insights or sales insights or something that out of the box provides some value, but can be modified around fairly easily without a data scientists involved.
Yeah.
But then they've got that other side with some of those tools where you can really get deep. I think we're at the beginning of those customers starting to pick those up. We've had a couple of customers go down the path with the AI. I don't know what they expected. I think one of the challenges with AI right now is meeting the expectation that people have when they hear AI, and then the reality of what it is, which in some cases could be better, some cases could be worse, but it seldom seems to match what the customer is expecting it's going to be.
Yeah, so true. Listen, there's a pre-day event on the Sunday. There's another little thing that I'm involved in, which is called Hack for Good. And this has been put on by the TDG crew. And I was involved in one of their hackathons back in February this year, and my gosh, it was amazing, for what people produced in 4 hours, combining, Power Apps, Flow, Power BI, and the Power Platform was absolutely phenomenal. And of course, the great thing is, this event, it's basically creating solutions for non-for-profits or for charity. And, these teams are around 8 persons per team, come together and they compete across the day. There's prizes, awards and whatnot. And it's a free pre-day event. Most of the pre-day events are around 350 to 380. This is a free event and, be catered and you'll be looked after, etc. Just a shout out to Blue Team. That's Team Blue right here. Leading that team I am. But I'm really looking forward to that and really take my head off to the TDG crew for, enabling, taking their own time out to actually put this on and, use all this Microsoft great technology for good.
Think about trying to do a hackathon like that, say 3 years ago with the product that we had. You'd put these teams in a room for 4 hours and they'd come out with a little widget. It's the best they could do. And it really says a lot for the platform that, they can literally go in there for 4 hours and come out with a complete, usable, amazing application. They couldn't accomplish that before. The next level for this, it will be, like how these gamer arenas, they got the gamers there and everything they're doing is up on these big screens and there's audiences watching. Like I could see next year's Hack for Good that, there's a studio audience watching these guys go through because it'll be that quick and that exciting to watch them actually put something together and light it up while you could actually be sitting there. That's going to be really neat.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, they're going to live stream this entire event on Twitch. And that means every table will have a camera on it with the individual teams working, and we'll have a Twitch feed so people can, log in and watch that. And listen, there's still plenty of spaces left. So if you're keen, go to Eventbrite and do a search for Hack for Good, Microsoft Business Application Summit 2019. Click on register. You'll see that it says there by TDG, a Microsoft community. And yeah, get involved. It'll be at the Georgia World Congress Center, Atlanta, on that Sunday before the main event. Well worth it. It'll be time well spent, I can assure you.
Yeah, I'm excited about that as well. So I know you and I are getting in Friday.
Wow, which is really about 3 days from now. We're there.
Yeah, not long. So we're going to be in there pretty early, then hanging around. So definitely if there's folks coming in on Saturday. When is the Hack for Good? That's Sunday, right?
It's a Sunday, yeah.
It's a Sunday. So
Sunday the 9th, June the 9th.
Yeah, people should ping us, for Saturday because we'll be looking for things to do.
Yeah, and really happy to connect with anybody. Always find that you can always learn something from connecting with others, and good opportunity to share as well. So totally open to anybody coming up saying hi. And
yeah, of course you have to buy us the beer. That's part of it. If you see me and Mark and you want to come up and say hello, that means that next beer is on you.
Yeah, just quietly. I like the odd beer on a hot day, but rum and gin.
Gin.
Not together. Independently of each other. But I don't mind a gin and tonic from time to time, and then. One of my favorites in going to the US is often a lot of bars can create a nice old fashioned, but I have it rather than having it with whiskey, I have it with rum, which is very nice.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so there you go. If you want to really get into Mark's good side, bring a thermos with an American old fashioned in it, and just follow him around.
Listen, that reminds me of a story some years ago. Convergence. I was at Convergence, and let's say, I wonder if I'm going to out him. Should I out him?
Sure.
Okay, Chris Cognetta. He has a friend meet him there out of state or something like that, or in state, I don't know what it was, and he brings along a couple of bottles of moonshine. And man, was it amazingly tasty.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was, I don't know what it was made of, but I know, yeah.
Probably gasoline.
Oh, well, we had to catch flights, right? And this was in Atlanta too. And I tell you what, we were guzzling that stuff all the way before we got on the flight. But I sleep on flights, so it doesn't worry me. So
that's another whole side of the event. Also, is really the nightlife, and I think that for those who haven't been before, certainly the event itself has lots of content. But every night there'll be various parties and different events and different things going on. Some official, some unofficial.
I've given up registering for these things because I find you just get towed along to wherever it is, and it's not like if a sponsor's put an event on, they're like, "Oh, sorry, so you're not on the list."
Well, we both know a couple of people that we can count on to follow that will that just have a nose for the right spots to go. And I think it's always interesting to see the people come to the event the second day. They show up in the morning all hungover, and there's an art to it, going out and having fun, yet still being able to understand these sessions that occur before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Remember what I said. These events are about networking and experiences, and then third, getting taught something.
Yeah, maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to see you Friday up there.
Excellent. We'll make sure that we put in the show notes any of the links to things like Hack for Good and that live stream. Make sure you click on the bell, hit subscribe, get notified. And by the way, we'll be streaming comments through live as well. So if you've got questions for any of the guests, we're going to try and get them on air. So even queue up your questions if you want on the live stream feed and say which guest you'd like the question asked to and what your question is. Yeah, it'd be good to get that feedback. We can't guarantee we're going to get them all there, but between Steve and I, we'll try our best.
Sounds good, Mark. Look forward to seeing you then.
Cheers. Ciao, ciao. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope to see you at the Microsoft Business Applications Summit in a couple of days' time. Feel free to hit me up. Come say hi. As we discussed, we're live streaming. So if you want to even get on the live stream, come and see us. If you've got a story about Power Apps, Flow, Power BI, or the Power Platform, that's a really interesting story, maybe how you got into it, etc. We would love to talk to you and get you on the show. So feel free to connect. Hit me up on any social media if you want to connect at the event. I'm really looking forward to this coming week. One last thing, take this opportunity, go to YouTube, look up NZ365 Guy. You'll see there that we're live streaming at this event. Subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of each time we go live at the event. And if you can jump on, comment, share some insights, we'd love to see you. Talk to you soon.